the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Wow. Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Reliance copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage on.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you the week after Memorial Day 2016. Hope you all had a very festive, long weekend. But also, we're hoping that you remembered what this weekend was really all about, and that is remembering the sacrifice of those who enable us to enjoy those weekends, who enable us to go on with our lives in the normal course of everyday life. I'm of course talking about our armed forces, our servicemen and women, those on the front lines, those on the back lines, those on any line that put themselves on the line for you and me. We're going to have a great show for you tonight, honoring those people. Of course, one of those people is our own Russ Gallo, who's a first sergeant with a Bravo company at the 258th Artillery in the New York National Guard. We got to give a shout out to Russ and all that he does. And, of course, shout out to every veteran out there who, at any time in their life, sacrificed of themselves and of their families and of their own lives so that we may pursue life, liberty, and, of course, the pursuit of happiness. We have a great show honoring those veterans. We're going to replay our interview that we did at CPAC with the Warrior Angels Foundation, Chase Rowan and Andrew Marr. We're going to replay that beautiful rendition of Just a Common Soldier that has now been nominated for an Emmy, believe it or not. And Tony LoBianco's rendition of that is absolutely gorgeous, moving, and beautiful. And, we got a whole host of other surprises for you during the show as well. I'm just going to start off with just a little bit of a rant. I'm going to go Russ Gallo on you guys a little bit. Because I come from a family of servicemen. And I was lucky enough because they served that I didn't really have to. I was living in a time of peace when I was coming up of age, and by the time war started breaking out around the world, and this age of terrorism that we live in now, I was already past the age to serve. I don't regret not serving only because I felt that I really don't have what it takes. Let's be perfectly honest. My forte is the legal arena. It's office life. I don't got the stuff, guys. I'm going to freely admit that to you right now. A lot of people will make excuses about, I could have done this and I could have done that. No, I couldn't have. I can't do what Russ does. I can't do what others of my friends do, and that's serve and give them themselves the way that they do. And I'm in awe of that kind of service. But what do we do on a weekend when we should be remembering those sacrifices, that commitment? We talk about a gorilla in a zoo. We talk about whether or not that gorilla should have been killed. We don't talk about the 55 people that got killed in Chicago. We'll talk about the latest fashion. We'll talk about, summer plans, and we forget. And the reason we are able to forget is because we have that luxury to forget. We have that luxury to be able to say, somebody else will take care of it. I don't take that for granted in my life. Yes, I'm one of those people that sleeps under the blanket of protection that is provided for me by others. But I don't forget where that safety and where that freedom comes from. It comes from those who just give away years of their life to do things that I can never imagine doing. Going overseas to protect our interests. Following orders that I don't know I could do. I'm being perfectly honest here, folks. There's no filter here whatsoever. I can't do that service. I think it takes a special person to be able to do that. People like to think that we, press gang the poor into going into the military because they are out of options and it gives them the opportunity to get somewhere in life. But no, there's got to be something in you. There's got to be something in you, some little bit of idealism, whether you know it or not. There's that idealism and that commitment to go out and say, I'm going to stand on that line for you. I don't know if it comes from the training of becoming a service member. I don't know if it comes from inside you to begin with. But it's there in all those men and women. No matter what background they come from, what region of the country they come from, what economic circumstance they come from, there's a tie that binds. And I'm in awe of it. I really am. And that's why we do what we do here Behind Enemy Lines. The show is named Behind Enemy Lines for two reasons. The first is we make jokes about it all the time. People's Republic of New York City, we're outnumbered here, we're outgunned, etc., etc. But the other reason is to pay tribute to my co-host Russ Gallo's service. And I'm forever indebted to him. And I'm forever indebted to everyone that has served this country in whatever capacity. And this show is meant for you tonight. This show is dedicated to you, and we hope that you enjoy it a little late after the Memorial Day weekend, but we hope you enjoy it nonetheless. So you know what? We're going to get started with it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with some words from a real Commander-in-Chief. And then we'll get into interviews and some music and some great moving stuff, folks, as we pay tribute to all those who gave some and those who also gave all. Our veterans, our servicemen and women in the armed forces. God bless you all. We hope you enjoy a little something that we can do for you here Behind Enemy Lines.
Some time back, I received, in the name of our country, the bodies of 4 Marines who had died while on active duty. I said then that there is a special sadness that accompanies the death of a serviceman, for we're never quite good enough to them. Not really, we can't be, because what they gave us is beyond our powers to repay. And so when a serviceman dies, it's a tear in the fabric, a break in the whole, and all we can do is remember. It is, in a way, an odd thing to honor those who died in defense of our country, in defense of us, in wars far away. The imagination plays a trick. We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise. We see them as something like the founding fathers, grave and gray-haired. But most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. We owe them a debt we can never repay. All we can do is remember them and what they did and why they had to be brave for us.
Behind enemy lines.
Joining us right now from the Warrior Angels Foundation, Andrew Marr and Chase Rowan. Chase, grab a chair, my friend. Pull yourself up, sit yourself down, and let's talk about all the good things about the Warrior Angels Foundation and all that you're doing. Andrew, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for
We've been having a lot of fun, Sean. Sean Atkins is going to remain with us, the author of Squashing Liberalism.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
We have. We've had a lot of fun, but I you know what? I don't. I'm going to say this, and this is from a Marine veteran to you guys, because I know what you guys do. I don't even feel worthy to sit here.
You're worthy.
Well, I know that, but I just want to say what you guys do. You not just your service to the country, but your continued service. I always say that because so many times I'm sure you guys are fed these accolades. Oh, thank you for your service. Thank you for service. But people forget the continued service after our military service that takes place. That's just as important, sometimes more important, especially with what you guys are doing.
It's about contribution, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
Well, let's fill in the audience about what exactly we're talking about here. Andrew Marr, the CEO and founder of the Warrior Angels Foundation, Special Forces Green Beret, started the organization with the sole purpose to stop the deaths of veterans suffering from PTSD symptoms. We talked about this on the show a few times before. We actually have friends who are veterans that suffer from PTSD. It's such an underreported issue, but it's so important to talk about because it's in the shadows and because there are so many people suffering alone from PTSD.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me give a little background story. Like you said, I was 9 years in Special Forces, and I want to caveat that with this story is not special to me. This is the story of a number of our veterans, and that's why we're voicing the opinion, so they can know about it. Can you guys hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, we hear you just fine. You're doing
Fantastic.
great.
So 9 years in Special Forces. I dealt mostly in explosives. I was explosive breacher, so that means we put a surgical charge on a denied point of entry to try to get inside to a bad guy.
Right.
So it was in around countless explosions for my career. Fast forward after my third deployment, again, as an elite performer in life and death situations. Coming home 6 months after that, I wake up. I'm on 13 different medications. I'm an alcoholic. My wife is 9 months pregnant with our fifth child, and her only request of me for that day was if I could just keep my drinking down in case she went to labor, and she didn't have to drive herself to the hospital.
Wow.
You know, at that time, I was like, how did I get here? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is not the man I was.
Yep.
And I came to a crossroads, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit kicking against external circumstances, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to find a different alternative way to treat this than all of the antidepressants, anti-anxieties, psychotropics, narcotics, opiates, and everything else I was on. And that's how we kind of got started.
It's an amazing story, and the road you've taken is incredible. So many people don't make it down that road. Chase Rowan also with us, the community relationship for Warrior Angels. Chase, tell us your story about how you got involved. You're in Special Forces, Army Ranger. Thank you doesn't say enough for everything that you guys have done. But tell us your story of the road that you've taken to get to this table today.
Yeah, well, in 2003, I decided to join the military. Of course, 9/11 was my main reasoning for that. I was a part of 3rd Ranger Battalion out of Fort Benning, Georgia. Deployed to northern Iraq in 2004. Shortly after returning from Iraq, before I was able to go to Ranger School, I suffered a parachute accident during a nighttime training operation. My parachute didn't open all the way, so I hit the ground going about 80 miles an hour.
Oh, man.
Caused a severe traumatic brain injury. That was then my way out of... They kind of said, hey, you can't do anything else with us, so we're going to medically discharge you out of the military. Shortly after being out, I started to notice, it was about a year and a half, started to notice a slow decline in just quality of life, my well-being, my marriage, in so many different areas. And I just kind of accepted it at the time. But then, fast forward, years later, Andrew got out of the military. And Andrew and I crossed paths. We've known each other a long time, and he was struggling with the same issues. So,
gathering together, working together, working for a common purpose, keeping focus on that. Amanda, you got some questions, right?
Yes. So we're at CPAC where we have thousands of people who I know would do anything to help out our veterans. And PTSD is often referred to as the invisible wound that is brought home from the war. And we don't have a lot of conversation about it. It's hard to identify it. What can we do to help identify those veterans who might be suffering, reach out to them and give them a hand?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and we need to talk about two things. We need to talk about traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress because they're interrelated often. And what we now know about traumatic brain injury, Sean, is it's a two-phased injury. So the first part is that initial trauma, be it a blast wave, be it a acceleration, deceleration, one force trauma, like I said.
Something where the brain moves inside your skull, either side to side or front to back.
Okay, the second, what you hit on is the silent part, and that's the post-traumatic inflammation, swelling of the brain. And that can happen a day, a week, a month, years later after the injury. So what we've identified is a specific group of hormones in the brain called neurosteroids that are responsible for making us who we are, responsible for our cognition, our behavior, our psychology, physiology, executive decision-making, all these things. And so when you have that swelling of the brain, the pituitary system can't work properly. That causes all these cascades of symptoms down the line. The current mechanism is to treat it with medication and psychotherapy, which doesn't work.
And when it's so clinically put out as you did, it sounds like it's obvious, but the symptoms, people can be asymptomatic of TBI and PTSD. Right. So much time, and inside the tissue is deteriorating, and things are happening internally that nobody sees.
Let me say something about that, because I'm dealing with this right now on a family level. Yeah. My dad's a Marine Corps veteran from Vietnam era, and he's told me stuff in the last 12 months that he's never told me in my whole life. I'm 45 years old. Yeah. And that's something, he's thank God, he's seeking treatment right now. He's getting some help from the VA. And I'm going to ask you this, just brother to brother. What else can he do other than VA treatment and seeing a psychologist, talking about stuff like that? I know we talked about a lot of the drugs and stuff like that.
This is what we're offering, Sean. Right. We're offering an alternative that treats the underlying condition. Okay. We need to find out what his underlying condition is. And how do you do that? You do it with an objective blood test. How easy is that? Look for
sounds simple, yeah.
A specific group of hormones saying, "Oh my God, this guy's deficient in this." No wonder he has all these. all these problems.
So you're pinpointing it with an actual blood sample versus trying to crack the code in someone's mind. Right.
It's like hormone replacement therapy. Exactly. Is what it is.
Exactly. You're treating the underlying condition by doing a individualized, objective blood panel, and then you replenish what you're deficient in.
Right. So Chase, you're actually going through a lot of this, right?
Yes.
So why don't you explain to you the difference in when you first started the treatments and to where you are now?
Okay, well, I get funny face every time I say this, but when I started the treatment beforehand, my life was honestly at the bottom. And I had not quite realized it yet, hadn't accepted it, but I was drinking a lot. My kids weren't getting to see me as much. Well, then I start the treatment. We're talking 3 days. I wake up the third day, and the first thing I do is smile. Not even joking. And I hadn't done that. I hadn't wanted to face a day in over a year, well over a year. And then it hit me, and I just started getting teary, and I started thinking, I told my wife, I said, there's hundreds of thousands of guys like me, with kids, with a wife, with families that are out there struggling right now. And I was like, and who's going to help them? Nobody is. Nobody's wanting to do anything. Everybody's wanting to drug these guys up.
Because they're treating the symptoms, not the actual disease. Is what's happening here.
Well, is the VA currently using the blood test?
No. The VA does not offer this treatment protocol, and we were fortunate enough to get lined up with the top neuroendocrinologists in the field of treating traumatic brain injuries out of California. And so here's what the VA does. They say, okay, this person's deficient in testosterone. They give him a testosterone. But here's the thing. There's precursors to testosterone, things that are responsible for making it upstream. And if that's affected and you're not treating that, you're just treating testosterone, then you're not fixing the issue. That's just, again, masking a symptom. So the body's going to overcompensate, and it's going to overload your cortisol, your sympathetic nervous system, and you're going to be hypervigilant. You're going to be on edge. You're not going to be able to sleep. You're going to have adrenal fatigue, so you're going to have extreme highs, extreme lows. These are all things that we can now tie back up into right into the being deficient in these hormones.
You know, as Andrew's talking, I can't help but think of a neighbor that actually committed suicide. He was in the Marines, and I remember vividly the first time he had his first break. My father, God rest his soul, who was also a Marine, actually had to go into the house. He was alone in the house with a weapon. My father had to go into the house and actually yell at him like he was a drill sergeant to get him to snap back into reality and then go into treatment. And unfortunately, his story, like many others, is one where he ultimately ended up taking his life. And I can't help but think that, God, if we knew then what we know now,
right.
And how many people, talented people, imaginative people, bright people that we've lost.
Is it still 22 a day, Andrew?
Here's the thing. That's the numbers out, but it's actually
It's so much
higher.
more than that.
But here's why. They only can say it's a suicide if they leave a suicide note, a premeditated thing. Okay?
Wow.
So if somebody drives off a bridge, takes a massive overdose, does all these other things, and doesn't leave anything out, then they won't do it.
So it's likely much higher than that.
What we've heard it estimated as at more like 40 a day.
God, it's
which is
your mind.
More than double the national
Could you
average.
imagine if
More
it was
than double.
40 children a day, what we'd be saying in the news?
Right.
Could you imagine if we were saying it was 40 women a day, what would we be saying in the news?
Well, you have to think.
Why isn't this reported on more?
You have to think about the second and the third order effects of that veteran, that service member committing suicide. The wife, the family, second, third generation problems. We've had enough.
Right.
We have an answer. We have a solution. It's cost effective. We can treat them anywhere without having to go to the VA, and give them world-class care with one of the top doctors in the field of endocrinology.
So let me ask you, why has the VA not adopted this yet? Is it bureaucracy and red tape?
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. Obviously, yeah.
Think about this, Sean. I was on 13 medications. The generic cost of that a month was close to $3,000 a month.
You were a customer.
You know what, Sean?
There's in somebody's good profit margin to take our guys off of all these medications.
There's two reasons too, and Chase and I got to get into it in a second. Reason number one is it's bureaucratic red tape. Reason number two is it's not cookie cutter, right?
Yeah.
It's not cookie cutter treatment, right,
Let's
Chase?
do it the same way.
Individualized,
Yeah.
and it is a doctor that is doing what all doctors should be doing, which is let's figure out what the individual has and what their situation is first, and then treat that, pinpoint it, instead of, hey, how do you feel? Oh, you feel this way? Okay, we'll give you this medication. That does nothing.
And when you talk about manipulating hormone therapies, you have to really gauge the person you're dealing with to find out what their levels are individually. So a doctor in a VA system, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, won't really have the discretion to go and do all this testing, which can be expensive, and then go through the follow-up of adjusting and maneuvering as the treatment progresses on.
They need proper training, and we have an answer for that. We can train in everything. We have a complete answer, and you're absolutely right, though. The problem is they give a cookie-cutter solution to an individual problem, and that, after 15 years, has not worked. Absolutely has not worked. And to keep trying it is ludicrous.
Absolutely. It's the definition of insanity, Amanda. You keep banging your head against the wall expecting a different result, and nothing happens.
Exactly. Right. Is there anything that we could do in terms of lobbying or advocacy to try and get this treatment implemented in the VA?
Yeah. We're in talks with the highest echelons of the VA, and we're going to continue to put the full court press on them and continue to put out the immediate fire, and that's to get these guys treatment. So when you turn 100 zombies and back into the productive citizens in the silver sector, that's going to have a massive rippling effect. And then you treat more and more and more. By soon, it's going to take root, and it's going to be demanded that the government is either going to get on the train or they're going to miss it, because technology will come by and it will make the VA irrelevant, and we can just rely on certain technologies to do these things for us.
It sounds like a great solution, and I'm glad that it's finally in the works. We want to get everybody on board with this by supporting your foundation, supporting all the work you're doing, whether it be advocacy on social media, whether it be donating to your foundation, whatever it could be. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and all the good work that you're doing.
Yeah, we just launched a new website. We're really proud of it, www.waftbi.org. That's waftbi.org. And we put out a lot of good content on there. We're on all the social media hot buttons now. dropping knowledge bombs all day long. We're real big. I'm real big on the sciences and proving everything that you say with validation and research. And so we put out a ton of good articles for people to read and get good information on this stuff.
Well, listen, there's a reason why we call the show Behind Enemy Lines when we broadcast on WNJC. Behind Enemy Lines is not only because we're Republicans in New York City, but it's also because my co-host Russ Gallo, First Sergeant Gallo in the 258th, we must always keep our veterans in mind at all times. And it's a tribute to his service that we do, and it's a tribute to you guys and all that you do for us. And whatever we can do beyond this interview, let's not stop here.
Yeah.
We're going to take this beyond and support you in any way we can, whether it's advertising on the website, whether it's writing articles, whatever you need. We're committed to do it. We're on board right now, and we're going to do all we can to help out.
I mean, it just you guys are American patriots, and it's an honor to be with you and a part of this. It's great.
Our patriotism pales in comparison to you, my friend. Thank you so much for everything. Chase, thank you so much. God bless.
Been an honor to see you guys.
Folks, go on the website, www.waftbi.org.
He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast. And he sat around the Legion telling stories of the past, of a war that he had fought in, and the deeds that he had done, in his exploits with his buddies. They were heroes, every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his Legion buddies listened, for they knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, for old Bill has passed away. The world's a little poorer, for a soldier died today. He will not be mourned by many, just his children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary and quite uneventful life. He held a job and raised a family, quietly going his own way. And the world won't note his passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim that they were great. Papers tell their whole life stories from the time that they were young. But the passing of a soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. Is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land a guy who breaks his promise and cons his fellow man? Or the ordinary fellow who in times of war and strife goes off to serve his country and offers up his life? A politician's stipend and the style in which he lives are sometimes disproportionate to the service that he gives, while the ordinary soldier, who has offered up his all, is paid off with a medal and perhaps a pension, small. It's so easy to forget them, for it was so long ago that the old Bills of our country went to battle. But we know it was not the politicians with their compromises and ploys who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you want a politician with his ever-shifting stand? Or would you prefer a soldier who has sworn to defend his home, his kin and country, and would fight until the end? He was just a common soldier, and his ranks are growing thin. But his presence should remind us we may need his like again. For when countries are in conflict, then we find the soldier's part is to clean up all the troubles that the politicians start. If we cannot do him honor while he's here to hear the praise, then at least let's give him homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps just a simple headline in a paper that would say, "Our country is in mourning, for a soldier died today."
Like a dream, I close my eyes and now it's here. Just one more day until we're free. I'm on my way to you. Just one more time that I must cross those lines and I am home. And the daylight turns into night. You're all I'm thinking of. You're always all I'm thinking of. When the daylight turns into night, I will be. Then the shouts ring out across that desert sand. Cross those lines, but now he's gone. Gone. And the daylight turns into night.
And there you have it, folks. Let me just say this. I gotta say, I know that this is a lot to listen to. When you're looking for a little entertainment, looking for a little political news, looking for a little bit of, the normal stuff that we do here behind enemy lines. But we gotta do this. We have to remember we're the generation that's gonna end up forgetting. I'm putting it out there right now. I truly believe that if we don't do shows like this, if we don't remember the fight that Andrew Marr and Chase Rowan are doing with Warrior Angels Foundation, if we don't listen to Tony LoBianco's Emmy-nominated rendition of Just a Common Soldier, if we don't listen to John Preston's moving song Day to Night, and understand what our men and women in armed services are going through, what they have gone through for generations, I'm sorry, then we're not worthy of what they do in life. You know what? Time to take a quick break. We're going to get back to a regular show right after a few brief words here. Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines. Thanks for listening to that first part of the show. We'll be back with a little bit more normal stuff right after these brief words. If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com, check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. Again, I want to thank Tony LoBianco for his moving tribute of Just a Common Soldier that is now Emmy nominated. I couldn't believe it when I got that news before Memorial Day weekend. Congratulations to Tony and the entire people, everybody who put that together. Also want to thank John Preston for his beautiful rendition of Day to Night. Check it out on iTunes. Check him out on YouTube as well. And, of course, Andrew Marr and Chase Rowan from the Warrior Angels Foundation. Look up what's going on there, folks. They're doing some exciting stuff. Actually, maybe trying to turn the tide on veteran suicides and traumatic brain injury and PTSD. Check them out at www.waftbi.org. With the time we got left in the show, let's talk a little bit of news. Let's talk about a little bit of views. Let's get back into a normal way of living, because ultimately, the best way to pay tribute with Memorial Day is to go on and continue to live our lives. So, just want to touch on a couple of quick hits here in the news. The first one being, my goodness, Katie Couric, what did you do? What did you do with your Under the Gun documentary that, by the way, there's one thing that we got to talk about. Let's get into the news of it first. Deceptive editing found in Katie Couric's documentary that is anti-Second Amendment, pro-gun control. In a scene when they are talking to some citizens who are pro-gun control, they ask a question about licensing criminals and terrorists and how to prevent them from getting guns. And then they put in 9 seconds of silence. Let's just measure that out right now. So she asked the question, and then you hear this. And you see people looking at each other. And there's no answer coming. Now, what do you take that to mean, folks? You take that to mean that, we're just meant to take a pregnant pause for a moment to understand the question? Or you take that to mean that they're trying to make these people look like idiots? Trying to make them look like fools? Trying to make them look like they don't have an answer? Trying to make them look bad, when in actuality, they had a response, they had an answer. And luckily for them, they also had a tape recorder with them, because they thought maybe something like this would happen. Now, here's a lesson for everybody out there. Never trust a reporter. Don't trust me as a pundit, prognosticator, whatever you think I am. Don't trust anyone who is looking for your opinion on politics. Make sure that you control what you say and that you have a record of what you say. These people were very smart to create a recording. And when the documentary came out and they saw that they put it in a negative light, in a false light, boom, it came out, and good for them. Now, I've seen different people talking in the media about this. Obviously, the New York Times not really saying much about it, saying that, allegedly there's this recording that exists, and allegedly they said this, when allegedly this was, inappropriately edited, and allegedly the New York Times is an alleged newspaper. But, you know what? Let's span the news and let's see, people are kind of protecting Katie Couric on this. They're saying she wasn't the editor. No, she wasn't. But she is the executive producer of the documentary. And here's the problem with documentaries these days, folks. The Michael Moores of the world, and now Katie Couric, you throw her in there as well, they have tainted the definition of documentary. The point of a documentary is to investigate facts and circumstances and then lead to a conclusion. That's not what's happening these days. You are starting out with your conclusion, with your premise, and then you are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy to get to your premise, without thinking that you may not intellectually get there to begin with. So what do you do to get to the premise when it's not there? You creatively edit. You deceptively edit. You take people's words, you mute them, you use B-roll. That's a little media term there, guys. B-roll is the stuff that you film when nobody's really talking, there's no action going on. So when you're doing when you see someone's talking over a scene, that's the B-roll. You're seeing this alternate footage of what actually happened. You're hearing alternate audio than what happened. You are being filtered through the lens of someone else. And that someone else has an agenda. Listen, I got an agenda here on this show. I promote conservative values. I promote conservative thinking. I definitely denigrate the left. I mean, you hear it here all the time. That's what we do here, but we're upfront about it. If you want to listen, you can choose to listen. You can choose not to. It's not like I'm hitting the edit button and stopping someone from saying their views. But Katie Couric did that. She may not have done it directly, but she did it as the executive producer in putting this out there. What does this say for her judgment in reporting news? What does this say about her credibility? In this world of new media, someone like a James O'Keefe has to show his raw footage, has to show his work, in order to be seen as quote-unquote credible. James O'Keefe is never thought to be credible because they think that he's always doing something wrong. And yet Katie Couric, given the benefit of the doubt, and we're supposed to trust when she creates a documentary that has a certain point of view, that she's reporting facts and being neutral, and this is educational, and your children should watch it, and they should know that guns are bad because Katie Couric said so. It's not how this works, folks. It's not how any of this works. Katie Couric has a credibility problem right now. It's going to be hard for her to solve, and especially hard to solve when you're doubling down and backing your editor. Now, listen, I could say that maybe Katie Couric didn't know how it was going to be edited. But once you saw it, you got to say something. It's a bunch of you-know-what that comes out of the rear end of a male cow. As someone said in the chat room right now. Speaking of which, we have a chat room going live during our live shows Tuesdays on Spreaker at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Feel free to join us anytime in that chat room during our live show. I'll be glad to borrow, sometimes without attribution, some of the things that you say in the chat room, and we appreciate you doing so. And speaking of which, check us out at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. If you want the chat room, you click on the Listen Live button. But also remember, we're available on the Facebooks and the Twitters at BEL_radio. And if you missed any part of this broadcast live here on Spreaker, you can check us out on any one of our rebroadcast outlets, including WJHC 107.5 FM on the Florida-Georgia line, K98 Talk, High Plains Talk Radio and Sackheads Media, and the Internet's conservative radio network, ICRN. Check them out there. And if you miss any part of the rebroadcast at the scheduled times, which are under our network listings at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us, you can download us and listen to us on demand anytime at iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbay, Player FM, iHeartRadio. Shout out to all of our iHeartRadio listeners. And you can discover us on Google Play Music and Google Play Podcasts. Check us out there anytime you want. You know what, folks? Right now, I think I need to give some equal time to a lefty media type, although I wouldn't really call him a media type anyway, but someone else whose credibility is also shot. But, we do it here for fun anyway. He's the Reverend Al. We love to hear what he says. Thanks to the Washington Free Beacon for these clips. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines. I'll be back right after Reverend Al.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Rev. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwiddling, they do not want him dwiddling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney, Representative Raul Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus. When Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. unless IT and Skillet's President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP, just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt, there's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. Few programming notes here on the show. Starting July 4th, Behind Enemy Lines Radio is proud to announce that we will be part of the charter lineup for Red Nation Rising Radio. Yes, the people that brought you the hashtag Red Nation Rising, that is used 1 billion times a month on Twitter. I'm not exaggerating. It's 1 billion with a B. That's how often people use the hashtag. Sometimes more. I mean, during the debates, you saw it all the time. I know I see it on Twitter all the time. And I know that a lot of you out there are part of that grassroots movement of Red Nation Rising. Well, Red Nation Rising is creating its own radio network that will be broadcast on both internet and terrestrial radio. Check your listings. We'll be sure to tell you more about that in the weeks to come. But July 4th, folks, it's on rednationrising.us. Sign up on that website and be sure to follow up on Red Nation Rising Radio. It's going to be a powerhouse lineup, folks. It's going to be really awesome. Can't wait to join that great group of people that I've been working with in creating the grassroots, where we're going to find the next Levin, we're going to find the next Rush, we're going to find the next Savage at Red Nation Rising Radio. It's going to be great. Another programming note, I'm happy to announce that Behind Enemy Lines Radio is a finalist for a 2016 Podcast Award in the News and Politics category. And the best part about this award is that you, our listeners, put us up for it, and you, our listeners, put us over the top. Thank you so much for nominating us. Thank you so much. It's such a humbling thing to start a little show online a couple years back, and to then have it grow to the point of being the people's choice in the top 10 in news and politics. I mean, listen, we're way out of our league in this category. There are so many people out there that listen to news and political podcasts. And there are so many great shows out there on both sides of the aisle that do really great work. We're just humbled and happy to be one of them. But we want to win too, folks. So if you can go to www.podcastawards.com, go to the News and Politics section, and vote for Behind Enemy Lines. Voting is open once a day from now until June 12th. Vote for Behind Enemy Lines Radio for News and Politics, and also help out one of our friends, and I guess you want to call him teammate, because we're kind of working together on this. Our friend Andy Chavarria, who many of you know from multiple networks that we're on together and that we have been on. His show, The Intersection, is also up for a podcast award in the religion and spirituality section. So you can only vote once a day, so we're going to ask you to vote for both of us. There's the Brooklyn coming out at me. The both of us, each for our category, Behind Enemy Lines for News and Politics, The Intersection for religion and spirituality, and do it every day till June 12th, and hopefully, by the end of June, you'll be listening to a winning podcast award radio show. Either me or Andy, or possibly both of us. Who knows? But listen, we wouldn't have gotten this far without you guys listening to us. I want to thank everybody so much for doing it, and hope you help us out even more down the road for that award. And wow, that's all I can say about that, folks. Time for some final thoughts here. You know what? I prepared a little something, but I think I'm going to wing it. And it really has to do with another controversy in media. We talked about Katie Couric, that Nimrod, that imbecile, that useful idiot. But I really got to talk to you about what happened with Glenn Beck and Sirius XM, and maybe I'll be biting the hand that feeds eventually one day. God willing, we'll end up on Sirius XM making the big bucks that Glenn's making. But this week, Sirius XM has suspended Glenn Beck show that broadcasts at 9 a.m. Eastern on Sirius. I don't know why I'm plugging the competition, but whatever. Basically because he had a guest on, author Brad Thor, who said that, according to Sirius, made some sort of veiled threat of assassination against Donald Trump. And I'm trying to find out exactly where it is. Maybe I have to listen to the clip a couple of times more like the Sirius XM people are doing. But Brad Thor is basically asking if a do-nothing Congress will not step in to stop the constitutional overreach by a President Trump, who will? And by saying that, and by Glenn not contradicting him, Sirius XM took them off the air because they thought it was a veiled threat against the Donald. I don't see it. I'm no Glenn Beck fan. I don't listen to his show. I can't afford Sirius. I'm just a lowly little podcaster. But I have to say, it sounds like just a constitutionalist talking about the Constitution. I have people in the chat room telling me that I have to listen to the whole segment to see exactly what it is, and I'm willing to keep an open mind on this. However, when stations start coming up with their own conclusion about what is being said on air, I don't know if the appropriate thing is to suspend someone and suspend the use of the airwaves for that person. Because it ends up being more of a kerfuffle than it is already. There I go. I tried to use a fancy word there, folks, and I got screwed for it. So it becomes more of an issue than it actually is. Again, I don't think it was meant as a threat. It may have been delivered inartfully and inaccurately. I've met Brad Thor, and I've spoken to him at many a political function. And I don't think that he's the type of person that would make threats like that. Maybe it's the curse of knowledge on my part, but I just don't see it. And I guess I'll have to listen to the whole clip, and maybe I'll come back later, and I'll go on record at goonrecord.com and say why it should be a certain way or why it shouldn't be a certain way. But for now, I'm willing to keep an open mind. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here. And that being said, I guess we're going to wrap things up a little bit here, folks. I want to thank everybody for listening to our post-Memorial Day show. I want to thank Andrew Marr and Chase Rowan from Warrior Angels Foundation, Tony LoBianco, and the people that made his Just a Common Soldier public service announcement, John Preston and his beautiful music that we played on the show. I want to thank you guys for listening and making us a People's Choice nominee for Best News and Political Podcast for a Podcast Award. I want to thank everybody in the chat room and all of you listening out there wherever you are. It's time to shut this sucker down. So until next week, when hopefully Russell's back and I'm not talking to myself, this is Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines saying good night, God bless, and we are out of here.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A rock radio production. Copyright 2016. Back in 7 days. Out.